So we've got the Capitol Ballroom, Donald Trump's ballroom construction versus the California Capitol expansion project, where they've got the great big expansion going on to the state capitol. And both of these are in the news. Half the people in the country are going crazy over Donald Trump and the ballroom, and a lot of people are criticizing people in California for putting up with the nonsense that's going on over there. Now, I can tell you that I found out that there's a lot of craziness going on with both projects. And in this video, I'm going to tell you what I just learned recently, and I'm going to tell you which one of these two situations is the more outrageous and ridiculous situation. So buckle your seatbelts. We're going to go through all of the details, everything that I can find on both, and then I'll let you draw a conclusion. So click the subscribe button, hype this video if you could. And remember, if you subscribe, you got to come back to my homepage, because YouTube is not going to serve up my videos to you. They've changed everything. You're not guaranteed to see my videos in the stream with the new system. So just come to my home page. Okay, well, let's just start it off right here. We're going to go side by side. We're going to compare these two things, scope comparison, the scope of the projects, the money, and then the crazy things that are going on. Let's start out with the White House ballroom project in Washington, D.C. So originally, Donald Trump said, I'm going to build a ballroom. It's going to be completely paid for by me. A tremendous, fantastic ballroom. We'll have cocktails and everything. And it's only going to cost $200 million, maybe $300 million. I might say $400 million just to be safe, but it's not your money. You won't spend a dime, not one single dime. All private funding, private funding. That's what he said. Well, now we've got some scope creep going on. So what is scope creep? That means that the original scope and cost of a project starts to creep out and become bigger and bloated whenever, say, things change, or there's some unknown problems that they discovered, or they just decide, hey, we got some even better ideas to add to this. So here recently we saw Trump in the news where he said that the ballroom is twice the size. I don't know if you saw the video where he called that reporter very dumb and stupid, because he said that the reason why the price is going up is because it's twice as big now. And I was like, oh, well, why is it twice as big? And what's going on? Well, get this. Here's the deal. It now includes a subterranean security structure. Well, that's interesting. So what's this security structure going to be used for? Well, apparently it's being described as a secret service annex underground. Okay, so it is security and also a military complex. What's the military going to be doing down there? I don't know. I mean, is that a good or a bad thing? I won't say that it's bad. We probably do need some kind of military presence at the Capitol or hidden away, because you never know if we could come under attack. And if we've got the military right there ready to defend, that could be a good thing. But this does go above and beyond what the promises were. Okay, so the reports also indicate that the underground security work portion of the project is being paid with federal funds, even though the above ground part was promoted as privately funded. And I'm noticing that people are conflating the two, because now that we got the reports stating that it's going to be a $1 billion project, and that Lindsey Graham, Senator Graham, is going to put a bill before Congress that authorizes $1 billion for this, everybody's thinking, oh, that's $1 billion for the ballroom. Well, that's not necessarily true, because the $1 billion is supposed to go for this underground security thing. I've even heard that it's going to put a security fence around the whole Capitol complex, and that's nothing to do with the $400 million that's for the ballroom. So I think there may be some confusion there. Is it a little secretive? Yeah. Are they being completely transparent? Not really. Is it something that might be necessary? Well, yeah. All right. Now, we also have a report saying that the Senate Republicans had introduced legislation to authorize $400 million for the ballroom. That was the part that was supposed to come from the private funds. So I don't know what's up with that. So we got a $400 million for the ballroom from Senate Republicans. We got the separate bill that has $1 billion for White House security enhancements with the fencing, with the underground complex, and all the security features tied to the East Wing modernization. But those are two separate things. Okay, so current estimated cost. It says that the ballroom cost has doubled from $200 million to like $400 million. And then we got this additional $1 billion, okay, for the security complex. So maybe it's at $1.4 billion. I don't know. And I don't know if that other $400 million bill replaces the need to accept the private funds. I've also heard that for the people that were donating, which included companies like BlackRock, that there was some conflict of interest issues that were coming up. And maybe that's why they're putting forth the bill. Now, do I think that there is a ballroom necessary to have at the Capitol? Yeah, I do. Zach from the Wolves of Finance did a really interesting video. I'll post a link to it where he says that they didn't include the ongoing cost for maintenance for the ballroom, that's a significant cost. He also said they didn't do the environmental study until after the fact. He also said that Trump fired the board that was the ones that were supposed to approve by the law that says that any building that goes on the grounds of the Capitol has to go through this board, and Trump fired them. So he says, but you'll have to check out that video. So that's the Capitol ballroom. Now, let's go out to the state of California and compare to what's going on there. And I'm getting mixed numbers. I've been following everything that Ashley Zavala has been reporting on the state capitol building expansion project, and it's crazy. Ashley has been up in their grill, and she has been putting a flamethrower straight to their faces, just burning them, asking them, why are you adding all this additional money, but you're not disclosing what you're doing? And this is taxpayers' money, but they won't say. And I think the California State Capitol expansion project is over $1 billion now, but I can't completely verify that. I know it was hundreds of millions of dollars, and now apparently it's toppling $1 billion. And so the taxpayers are upset, especially conservatives, but all of the people that are on the committees for the expansion project, they're not allowing anybody in the public to know what the additional expenses are going towards. They're hiding something. I don't know what it is. So that's very, very odd. Now, let's talk about the scope creep out there in the state capitol expansion project. They expanded the footprint of the building. It got way bigger. They redesigned the office space. They're rebuilding the visitor center, and they're adding additional security features. Now, there's an employee, and I don't remember her name. I'm going to have to come back after I jump in and go back to some of Ashley Zavala's reports from KCRA 5, I think is what it is. KCRA. Ashley, I know her personally. She's from here. She did some news reporting for KRCG TV 13 and did the launch, covering the launch of one of my businesses that I own. Gadget Guru is the one that is now just doing all of this stuff. It used to be a technology device repair business, and Ashley did the video coverage and the story and the on-site live report whenever I launched that business. That's how I got to know her. Now she's the top dog reporter in the state of California. Check her out. I think it's Ash Zav on Instagram. I'll put a link there too. But she had someone, she had a person that she reported on that is not an employee that apparently demanded that the Senate space be bigger because it wasn't as big as the House space, and that this request put like an extra $76 million into the project. And this lady who's a very important lady, is not even an elected official, but that added $76 million. And she tried to ask this person, well, who are you and what makes you think that you get a $76 million request? And they won't answer. So there's a lot of undisclosed cost overruns in that capital project, but the same people out there in California, the same liberals who are allowing that, are criticizing Donald Trump in the ballroom. Like Gavin the Greasehead Newsome has said a lot of stuff about Donald Trump in the ballroom, But here he's got a project that's just for a state, not even the capital of the United States. His project is like 3 to 4 times bigger. Well, not anymore, because now they've upped the cost of the Capitol Ballroom project, but his is costing just as much, and he won't even disclose the information to the taxpayers. So that's really interesting. So they're criticizing Gavin, the greasehead Newsome, and all the legislature out there for lack of transparency, escalating costs, and construction delays, project delays. So the exact updated cost figures, we don't really know what they are. But let's jump in. Let's make a comparison. We're going to jump to this table here. Here we go. Let's look at this. Got a table here. Side by side, we're going to look at the Capitol Ballroom versus the California Capitol expansion. Starting with original cost. It was supposed to be 200 to 400 million, okay? Privately funded. And then over here, it was hundreds of millions was the general estimate. And from what I remember, it was at like $400 or $500 million when they started. So the California Capitol expansion was bigger in original scope than the ballroom. Now, current cost. Right now, we talked about the Capitol Ballroom pushing to $400 million, and then a bill being put forth before Congress for that $400 million. And now another $1 billion for this underground security complex. So maybe $1 billion to $1.4 billion. And over at the Capitol complex expansion for California, they're not disclosing it. But from what I'm hearing from Ashley Zavala's reporting, I think they're at $1.2 billion. Wow, $1.2 billion. Let's go to scope creep. So the scope creep for the White House ballroom, they doubled the size of it when they added the basement, for the underground, the security thing, and for the fencing and all of that. So it doubled in size. For California, they expanded the footprint. They redesigned it. They added security features and everything else that I had mentioned. So there's more scope creep in the state of California Capitol building than there was with the ballroom. Federal funding. Well, now with the White House ballroom, we got 2 bills, one saying, hey, we're going to throw in $400 million. And this other bill says we're going to throw in $1 billion. Is it necessary? I don't know. I think the $1 billion might be money well spent because we need military protection in the state's capital because it's not there. I think we also do need a ballroom. I don't know what happened with the private funding thing, though. So I'm not very satisfied with that if they're flipping it over to a bill, but at least they're taking it to a vote with Congress. Now, over in California, they don't have any federal involvement. They're just bleeding the state taxpayers dry. But here's where everybody gets bit. They're overspending their own budget. They're wasting tons of money. And then they turn around and they do dirty accounting and bookkeeping. And we know that after they ran Medi-Cal dry and ran it to like $2 billion in the hole, they start stealing our federal taxpayer money by funding stuff and saying it's for other things. So don't believe for a minute that just because it's state funded that they're not spending our money, because they probably are. If they weren't stealing hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars from us through all of the lying, cheating, and the fraud that's going on in California, they wouldn't have the money left over to waste on that Capitol building. Transparency. So with the ballroom, we've got the conflicting claims about public versus private funding. And then the underground cost being undisclosed at this point for the $1 billion. Over in California, we have the reports of non-disclosure and lack of transparency. They're just flat out refusing to share any details. They even had a video that Ashley showed where they had reporters showing up at the construction site and they were approaching workers and asking them, hey, what's going on? What's up with these increased costs? They say, I can't say anything. And they immediately just spun on their heel and turned and got the heck out of Dodge. They didn't want to answer the questions because they were probably threatened that they would be fired if they said anything. So pretty bad situation there. Now, bottom line, controversy. So we've got the ballroom being called a vanity project. And then we've got the security justification, after the White House press secretary dinner thing, the roast and the shooting. And some people say that they set that up so they could justify doing the ballroom. I don't believe that conspiracy theory, but it's something that would enter your mind. And then we got the donor funding questions. But over in California, you got cost overruns, super duper secrecy, which is so sketchy. And then the public access concerns. They're not letting the public know anything about what's going on. So that's the side-by-side comparison. Now, what do you think about both of these projects? Are you dismayed with both? What are your thoughts about the ballroom? Do you think it's necessary? I personally think that it is. Why don't we have a ballroom in the state capitol? It doesn't make any sense. This is the capital of the United States of America. We don't have a place to have conventions, to have foreign dignitaries. We don't have a ballroom. Do we need the security in the basement? Maybe. Are they being a little shady and sketchy and changing the story? And is there a lot of scope creep going on? Yes. Am I completely satisfied with that? No. In the state of California, though, I think it's much, much worse. Why? Well, because it's a project that is probably equal or greater, because we don't even know if it's, last I checked, like I said, it was like $1.2 billion, but it might be bigger than that now. And they're refusing to share any information with the taxpayers. And the reason why I think it is worse is because California is wasting money on so many different things. They've got the non-existent high-speed rail project of billions of dollars that they've just pissed away in the wind. But then they're turning around and spending $1.2 billion on this Capitol building. And then they ran their Medi-Cal in the hole in the billions of dollars. And now we find out that there's billions of dollars of fraud going on in the state of California. So I think that's a worse situation because it's vanity for them. They don't need this, especially since they're stealing money from you and I, the people that don't live in the state of California. So which project do you think has a bigger black eye? Which one is worse? Share your thoughts in the comments. Tell me what you think. I'll be curious to know. And maybe I'll include some information about what Ashley is reporting. And we're going to have to include some of her special reports in future videos because they're just really good. And for all of you that have watched all the way until the end, thank you very much. And I will give you an update on that recent live stream that I did. I did some shorts and just out of nowhere, the video views went from like 50 to 100, back up to over 1,000 on one. And then the others at like 400 views. I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's happened. So I have decided that I'm just going to talk and keep up the discussions of what you want. I'm going to try different things and just shoot from the hip, fly by the seat of my pants and see what happens. Stick with this the best I can while I'm building back the revenue, and we'll see what happens, and hopefully we can build to the point where I can get a sponsor. If I get a channel sponsor, it solves everything, and we're going to be good to go, and I will include more live streams just for you. So we'll just play it by ear. I got some good topics coming your way, so stick in there, but that's all we got for this one. This is Carlton, and I am out.